Hello, everybody. I'm Christina, and tonight, we have quite a bit to talk about. A lot went on, didn't it? Yes. I told you it doesn't take more than a couple of days for there to be so much news that it's really almost hard to cover it all. Again, you just don't have to wait long. I want to welcome everybody that's already coming on. We're going to wait for a couple of seconds before we get into this, and in the meantime, for those of you who end up playing this back, don't forget to like, subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure all notifications are hit. Share the videos, and don't forget to comment because I love to hear what you think. It's a little bit late in my area of the neighborhood, but we're okay. All right. It just seems like a lot advanced, didn't it? A lot did. Okay, and I named this title Our Divided Nation 2021 Capitol Storm. And the first thing I wanted to start with was that just on January 5th of this year, Trump said that we'll never concede the election. And I say never. January 6th, he called a rally that probably cost him everything. We're going to get into all of this. Today is January 7th, and Trump concedes the election. So I was going to play a little bit of that speech that he has, but not in video, just to where you can hear it. And I don't know how the sound is going to go, so y'all just let me know
begin by addressing the heinous
if you can hear it.
On the United States Capitol.
Can you hear it?
All Americans, I am outraged by the violence, lawlessness, and mayhem.
Can you hear it, y'all?
I immediately deployed the National Guard and federal law enforcement to secure the building and expel the intruders. America is and must always be a nation of law and order. The demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defiled the seat of American democracy. To those who engaged in the acts of violence and destruction, you do not represent our country. And to those who broke the law, you will pay. We have just been through an intense election and emotions are high. But now tempers must be cooled and calm restored. We must get on with the business of America. My campaign vigorously pursued every legal avenue to contest the election results. My only goal was to ensure the integrity of the vote. In so doing, I was fighting to defend American democracy. I continue to strongly believe that we must reform our election laws to verify the identity and eligibility of all voters and to ensure faith and confidence in all future elections. Now Congress has certified the results. A new administration will be inaugurated on January 20th. My focus now turns to ensuring a smooth, orderly, and seamless transition of power.
Okay. All right. Okay. So it's official. Trump is conceding the election and pledging a smooth transition. But things are very, very, very out of control all of a sudden, aren't they? Hello, Jeff Jacobs. Hello, Rodney, Miss Chavez, Trent. It's very good to see all of you here, and thank you for all the thumbs up. All right. Ooh, all right. I know that there is a lot of what's it called? It's the kind of division where it's more of which political side that you're on, and it's killing our nation. Okay, it is just killing us. Okay, so I'm gonna just start by saying that doesn't matter which side you're on, America is changing for everyone. It's changing. Okay, America is not the America that was there in the 1950s or even the 1850s or even the 1750s. Okay, this is something else. All right. As a Christian, I don't put my faith in man. I've always felt that no one could stop what is ordained for our future. And I say this as a Christian, that, with all the signs of judgment over our nation specifically, that we've noticed, that nothing could stop it. It was more of a sign, a warning for all of us to go ahead and get ready, because a lot of things were going to start getting bad. Things that we might be shocked over, things that seem upside down. Okay. So, I don't think that Trump could have really saved our nation per se. I think that he was a pause, maybe, and maybe in some ways advanced some symptoms spiritually. But no matter what, he was, for many people, one last chance to get ready. And this is bigger than politics. So it isn't that we didn't feel the stress of the people of our nation building. There was never any doubt among American citizens there would eventually be a breaking point. More and more we hear words like civil war coming from both sides, okay? Our nation was divided long before the storming of the U.S. Capitol building, right? Okay, so let's look at the comments super fast. I mean, this was just a sign of what's going on. It wasn't just a thing. This is the manifestation of what is building inside of Americans in general, right? Hello, Watchman. Good to see you here. Why would he call the Patriots to D.C. and then concede the very next day? I'm thinking that things did not go the way that he originally thought that they would. And I don't even know for sure if the people that were there realized that things would end up the way that they did. I think that momentum grew, and everything that was already underneath everything just kind of let it. And then you see where it almost looks like they might have been let in by some certain peoples too, and there are a lot of suspicions. Okay, there's condemnation on one side, and then there's suspicion on the other, saying y'all just fell for a trap. So this is, it's very strange to a lot of people. Hello, and fast. Okay, it does not stop here. That's what Trent says. And the Democrats want Trump in prison, and everyone that was in the DC Capitol building, they want to send to jail for have the people declared as traitors. And that's scary. That is very, very scary, because that is a declaration against people. And when you start calling them traitors, the word death sentence is usually attached to that. Just saying, for a future protester sake, so this kind of opens up a wide area of concern for me also. Some of the things that are being said. The Watchman says the media keeps pushing even though they've got the win, which also seems odd. Trump is conceding election. He lost. He's pledged a smooth transition. He had a good fight. That was admirable. But this seems, again, overkill. Like when you watch forensic science kind of cop cases, and there's always a difference between somebody that was murdered by somebody random and somebody that knew you. Okay, when it's somebody that knew you and they've had all these passions running high, that's when the overkill comes in. Okay, and that's kind of what this looks like too. Joe Biden thinks he can go pay off the Iranians. Trent says everyone is talking about how this is just beginning, and I honestly think you're right, Trent. And for my own reasons, I do think this is something that didn't just start a few days ago. This has been brewing for a while, but you're right. Something else, it seems like another progression, another step in a certain direction somehow has been lit. Okay, it's been done. It was a sting operation. A lot of people believe that. I don't think Trump knew that Antifa would do what they did, is what yeah, I've heard that Antifa was there too. I heard it from the underground, is what Rodney says. Okay, so we've had all this stress building. Our nation was divided before this day, and it was divided because of a lot of things, like the pandemic, unemployment, rising food prices, injections, political uncertainty, and bills like NYA 416. Okay. And so we were talking about that just a couple of days ago, right? And so an article came out recently about this, okay, because January 6th wasn't just for a day of the DC Capitol storming. It was also a day where New York was supposed to start getting this proposed bill through, right? So everybody was reading it, including myself, the actual bill, and it talked about detention camps. But in this article, it says, oh, no, 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 they weren't talking about detention camps, these fact checks. It even says fact checks politics. This is by Snopes.com, by the way, published January 5th, January 2021. Okay. Claim legislation proposed in the New York State Senate in 2021 called for the establishment of the CV-19 detention camps. I'll just have to read it. What's true according to them, okay? These are not my personal views. I'm just reading the article, okay? What's true, introduced during the 2021-22 New York State legislative session, Assembly Bill A416 would amend public health laws to allow for the removal of cases, contacts, and carriers of communicable diseases who are potentially dangerous to the public health. Again, a wide, broad, general umbrella, right? So they say, okay, there's a lot more in this bill, okay, like forced vaccination, okay? But they just go immediately to, oh, what's false. A416 is not specific to CV-19. That much is true. It's like I said, it's a wide net of anything, okay? And again, we talked about people that are suspected of having or may have come into contact. Okay, there's these wide umbrellas, which is very suspicious. So yeah, it's true. It's not specific to that. But the good thing is it has not been passed into law by the state legislature. It's like we gave enough heat, y'all. Okay, such isolation centers, now they call them isolation centers, have been defined by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention as places designed for those who cannot isolate themselves safely at home and are not designated as detention camps, as some social media users claimed. Okay, that bill didn't say anything about this being a safe haven for people who can't isolate themselves safely. It never said a word of that. Okay, it said forced vaccinations, though. Okay. What's undetermined? Requirements, locations, and other logistical information for such isolation centers. That's the right word now, you guys. We got to stay on the same page, okay? All right, okay, so isolation centers, they're not outlined. Furthermore, the precedent suggests that it's unlikely such a bill would pass, right? But the truth is, something was saying that this is the fourth time they've tried to implement a law like this for such things. You might have similar phrases to isolation or detention camps, FEMA camps, kind of things like that. They said this is the fourth time they've tried this. So it probably won't be the last, okay? But it's things like this, going back to the point, that really shed light as to why our country is in the state that it's in and why storms like what happened on the USDC Capitol building actually happened, okay? And if issues, problems that are this deep and this hard continue, I don't see any end of it. I mean, logically, I can't see an end no matter who's on what side. This is not going to stop. All right, let's go ahead and check some of these comments. Okay, I see you deleted your comment, Jeff. The Democrats have the majority now, and they're going to be passing bills left and right. Okay, yeah, they didn't have anything they wanted to do for the last 4 years, basically. But the bigger issue here is that there's no checks and balances now, especially if everybody from one side has control of everything. That means that everybody on the other side is under the gun. All right. That is something that we really need to be worried. There was a reason that checks and balances were supposed to be there in the first place. Okay. And that can be a problem for, again, any American. It's always a bad thing when too much power is handed to one group of people. All right. Okay. Okay. That's the Watchman. All right. Schumer says this is a day he never imagined that this would happen, even though people like him allowed riots to happen everywhere in the United States. They sat on things like the stimulus bill till the very last second, until government funding was threatened, their very own paychecks. But they never imagined something like this could happen in their neck of the woods. That's insane. Okay. Just psychology's sake, that's insane. Are you that cut off from reality that you don't realize what everybody else is seeing, so yeah, it was inevitable. Something like this was going to happen. It's just logical. Just now that it happened this close to home is what the problem is. For these individuals, Schumer believes there should be no leniency. Like, I mean, seriously, no leniency. Do you know what that means? Now, say they get these people, say, put to death for treason. If that's what they're insinuating, then who's next? Okay, now if they do that, then it's established that they can and they will, and then who's next? Okay, all right. And that right there will probably get okay. Anyway, I don't want to get out of turn. It says then he calls the Capitol DC building a temple, as though they who are in that building are supreme gods, little g. Okay. What happened at the Capitol was destined to happen. That day was supposed to be a day of rallying, but that's not how it ended up. It soon became a spectator sport where the spectators weren't efficiently secured. All hell broke loose. The Capitol was breached. Security there wasn't up to par. There is no going back now, though. No. A curfew is now in effect, among other things like the National Guard being called in. On top of that, they are enacting articles of impeachment against the president as we speak. But what few may realize is that Trump was more than a president. He was an idea. It isn't enough that he will be out of office in 13 days. It's becoming clear they want blood. They want blood, okay? Think it's just his blood? I remember there was these historical stories that back in the day, if you killed the leader, the army would flee. You ever heard them historical stories? This sort of is what it looks like is going on, meaning that what they're doing to the president is coming for his followers. All right? This is what hey, if history isn't remembered, it repeats itself, right? Those who fail to something about history are doomed to repeat it. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? The Watchman says the government is out of touch. It does not think it can be destroyed. News media was so arrogant to think that the Capitol would never be intruded upon. Did you see how shocked they were when their cameras got smashed? They didn't know why. But again, there's the fake news. There's the misinformation. There's just been censorship and fact checking, which was one example we just went over. I mean, of course, there was going to be problems, right? America's in big trouble. The Democrats trust the Chinese and the Iranians. America's in trouble for so many different reasons now. Disaster doesn't just happen. It's a sequence of events. You remember that? What was it? Seconds from disaster? That first line? That's what's happening to us. Okay? They're enacting articles of impeachment. And that just seems really crazy for the last minute of his presidency anyway. Then we have to remember that lists were already made before the election actually happened, if I'm not mistaken. Then they started coming out with the New York bill A416. Okay, so there is a sequence of events that are happening separately in time that if I didn't know any better, they do want us exterminated. Anybody, and it doesn't have to be if we agree with anybody, it just means if we don't agree with them. You know, it looks like something horrible is on the way. You know, among the protesters there that day included a North Texas attorney named Paul Davis that was fired from his job. He is not the only one present that day that has been identified by their jobs and terminated. There was a guy in Maryland. Trump Jr. and his wife were under fire. Ivanka and Kushner, last I saw, looked like they were fleeing the country. Now Senator Cruz's head is wanted. They want him to resign as senator from Texas, which he's not having that, and I don't really see why he should, you know. So yeah, the National Guard is being called in, but interestingly, also a 7-foot fence is being set up around the Capitol. I watch them fences. I'm telling you, they're a bad sign. When you start seeing fences going up, that's a really bad sign. Anyone who was at the Capitol that day is being tracked down. Okay. Do you feel me on this? I'm not talking about one political side or the other. I'm saying, do you see the events happening that looks really dangerous? You know, people are being tracked down, right? Then, and they'll have no mercy. Okay. Then may be all Trump supporters is what I'm thinking. Then who's next? So the chances they will go on a massive manhunt will most certainly push America into a very real civil war. I mean, push a cat in a corner, that's what's going to happen, especially if patriots are being declared domestic terrorists. See what I'm saying? Doesn't matter what side you're on. You're creating two sides at this point, and you're pushing people. People are feeling pushed against a wall. What does this look like? It's really just, it's the start of civil war. It's just very disorganized right now, but it looks like it's starting. Okay. And I kind of went over and said, you know, eventually we're going to be called the criminals. People that love God, people that love our country, you know, people that aren't Democrats and whatever Schumer and Pelosi is. If we're not like them, then we're going to be criminals. Okay. Still, with the real divide in our country, censorship of channels have already been censored heavily to signal to a large group of discontented that their views and feelings do not matter. Trump's Twitter account has been locked, and still Schumer, among others, doesn't see how this happened. Never could have imagined this could have happened. But we all know what happens when you keep poking a bear and then you try to poke it with a syringe. No telling how many thousands of channels were taken down over covering this event from a different point of view. Schumer said that this was the shot that rang out around the world, but politics actually did that a while ago. And the shot that rang out around the world was actually the CV-19 vac. Okay. But still, as J.B. Gunner so eloquently pointed out, the first shot was on an unarmed American veteran female. This is a great move to remove forcibly and a way to have true checks and balances of democracy from different points of view. They're going to be removed. Okay. This is a way to silence a whole bunch of people. I'm going to check the comments real quick. Trump is on the lam. He wants to even pardon himself. Plus, he has overseas Interpol with Iranian fatwa on him. I don't see him traveling abroad much after he leaves. Ooh, he's going to be a wanted man, isn't he? They made no preparations for oxygen. They've had over 11 months. They knew people needed oxygen. Now they're leaving people's loved ones for dead in New York and California. So you see, right now, this isn't about politics. There's something much bigger going on, which is what I've always tried to say. I said, there's something not right. There's something underneath the surface that just feels like that's what's really going on. If we don't pay attention, it's going to bite us hard. And I'm thinking we're headed to something really, really bad. There's fencing buildings off. They're trying to pass crazy bills. They're making lists. They're talking about no mercy. And for what, the Capitol getting stormed for a few minutes, an hour or whatever, it just does. It seems, again, it's overpassion. It's overkill. There's a lot of hatred involved in a statement like that. All right. People are getting banned from Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Yep, you're right about that, Trent. But there was one more thing that really came to mind. I'll tell you about that in a minute. At least for right now, Pence is refusing to invoke the 25th Amendment so far. We don't know if he's going to be strong-armed. Okay, but again, it's like how many days left in his presidency? Not that much. All right. But I do want to say that I don't believe this march on this building was the last attack that this building is going to end up sustaining. I made a video about this a couple of years ago. Not exactly sure how many, but it's on YouTube on the same channel that I saw the DC Capitol building on fire. So it definitely wasn't on fire this time, but that doesn't mean that it's not in the future. I mean, if they can barge in like that, it can happen. For what reason I saw it on fire, how it starts in the future, I don't know. I mean, we could be in the middle of a war. We could be, hit by a meteor. I don't know. But I did see that building on fire. So if it has anything to do with what started today, that's not the last attack that building's going to get. What is obvious is that movements are going on to create two distinct sides. And this really was a day in history. It's new. We're inexperienced. People are inexperiencing, again, on both sides of Civil War, but something's begun. Okay? It began with the Capitol storm. It will end with a perfect storm. But both sides are in danger. All right? If only we knew what was coming. And a lot of us kind of do. We know those food prices are rising. I mean, small things, we know what's coming, that we at least have an idea that we have to keep our family as close to us as we can. All right. I think that this was pretty much all I really wanted to go over tonight. I just want everyone to really keep in mind how volatile this moment in history really is and how careful I want everyone to really be and to really hold on to God, and He'll get us through the storm. He's always the calm in the storm. Okay. Maybe, Tony, we'll have to take a look at that. Definitely Jeremiah 50 and Jeremiah 51. DC. I know that there's a little city in New York called Babylon that's a port city that does get shipments. Just saying, it's definitely there. I got my hair all messed up. Doesn't matter, right? I do want everybody that's here to always try to remember to hit like. I'm glad always for your comments. Definitely share. And whenever possible, send a donation, a tip. That helps out a lot, especially in today's hard times. I love you guys. Love you, Watchmen. Love you, Tony, Trent, everybody, Jeff. I'm so glad y'all made it. And I will talk to you soon. Mwah. Bye, guys.